Hey y'all. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Greetings. Peace and blessings to everybody. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Thank y'all for being here. This is going to be a good one, y'all. This is also going to be informative. So hopefully, you're anticipating on either learning some things or unlearning and relearning, or you may be refining some information you already know. I wanted to come with a topic that is relative and that will not just help us currently, but can inform us for generations to come. So, with information and knowledge, we know how to move, right? We know how to respond or maybe maneuver through some things. So, I'm looking forward to it and looking at my chat. Hey, Miss Sassy, peace and blessings to you. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Miss Yo is in the house. We got Bolo VNR, and we also have Miss Nini Loyal. So, to everybody that's coming on in, I appreciate everybody. Miss Alexandra, peace and blessings to you, beautiful. All of my beautiful people and my handsome gentlemen coming on into the chat. Come on in and make yourselves comfortable, right? So, um, I actually am just going to pretty much get to it. It's no sense in um, prolonging the intro. I might, depending on how the flow is going, and if anybody, I always like to leave the option to, drop the link if anybody wants to chime in or engage in some provoking conversation. So, on my thumbnail, y'all, I have Mr. Papa Duck, right? I like Mr. Papa Duck. I've been following Mr. Papa Duck for a long time, and he's always dropping gems, always educating us and letting us know what is really important. These YouTube streets are on fire, so I don't take anybody's presence for granted. Thank you for coming in, Ernest. Rare Money's in the house. Yes, thank you. It's good to see you. Very good to see you. And so the topic of today is actually going to be about legalese. Okay, so there's some information um, to broaden and to enlighten people on, if, like I said, so if it don't apply, let it fly. But like for me, transparency, I am kind of new to a lot of pertinent information that I so wish I'd had when I was younger, especially when my kids were younger, you know, um, so where I can just kind of build from the ground up with the familial structure, right? But everything happens when it's supposed to happen in divine timing. So I'm not belaboring the point. I'm just saying, it's natural for us to think of things like, okay, well, had I had this information 20 years ago, the outcome might have been different. But it may have been different to the point where I'm not sitting here and sharing the information that I am learning and that I do find valuable, right? So, um, now there is a term called straw man. So when we're born, we are human beings. We are considered personal property, right? So when you have a birth certificate or when your parents register your information to the government, state and federal, you are at that point registered property. And I'm going to elaborate as to what exactly that means and what it entails. So, the video references, I got two videos that I'm going to share um, with you guys and ladies and gentlemen. And then those video references are in the description, as always, for you to go ahead and just look at them in their totality. I recommend you do so. I actually required, because even though my youngest son is still in school, I also educate him at home. So he has a home curriculum as well as an in school curriculum. And for this week, this video that I'm going to share with y'all is what was mandatory for him to engage in, write an essay about. And, we're going to have a discussion about it, right? So, but I think anybody from any age can learn um, at any point. And I truly believe that once you stop learning, you start to die, right? Because it's just embedded in us, and so that's part of our natural course, in my opinion. So welcome in, Kimar. Hey, Miss Kimar, this girl. Thank you for being here. And Miss Kimar says, I learned about the straw man 3 years ago. I was shocked at how much we've been lied to. Listen, you took the words out of my mouth. Very well articulated. And if you feel anything like how I feel, because we're pretty much from the same generation, at least I think we are, Miss Kimar, there is definitely a sense of, I would say, some mixed emotions, right? It's good that we did learn it while we're here, even though better late than never. However, it's like, oh my gosh, it makes you question. Well, for me, it makes me question everything that we've been taught, everything that I've learned from school on out. Now I question everything. And I think that is what promotes free thinking when it's all said and done, right? So, no, definitely, definitely, definitely. Okay, so without further ado, put a one in the chat if that music is a little loud. Actually, if it's good, and two, if it's a little on the loud side, because I'm going to keep it going while the video is playing, but I don't want it to overshadow the commentary. So a one in the chat if the volume of the music is good, and a two in the chat if it needs to be turned down. So it's good. All right, perfect. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you to my mods for being here. I appreciate y'all. I'm going to be greeting people as I come in, but you use your discretion on the chat. I do have it, if I'm not mistaken, it should say subscribers only. Yes, subscribers only mode. So yeah, and that's where we at. So thank y'all for being here, and give me just a moment. Okay, hold on. I'm sorry, y'all. I had it timestamped, but it just kind of moved on its own. Definitely. Papa Duck. Again, my apology. No sound? Oh, no sound. Okay, so let me try this again because it should be some sound. I should not have these. I don't know why it's not having any sound. Let's try it one more time. Put a 1 in the chat if there is sound, and a 2 if there is not. A 1 in the chat if you heard that, a 2 if you did not. Okay. So let me go ahead and pull it up on another device. I don't know why this does this. It's a hit and miss, and I'm not doing anything different. So I apologize, y'all. Okay.
This is one of the design. All right, you speaking English, and they are maritime law. Future we will be doing subscription based things. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be a small, it ain't gonna be much, but you'll be able to get things earlier.
A 1 in the chat if the volume is okay, or 2 if it is too low. I just turned it up.
You'll be able to get content that everybody else won't probably be able to get. You know what I'm saying? And that's how y'all can help support us with the channel. You know what I'm saying? So y'all lay around for that. Like I said, we're gonna get right into it, man. It's the Pop It Up Podcast. You jump into it, bro, like that? We got to. You jump in the chest, dive in the chest? We got to. I mean, y'all know, take out this Pop It Up Podcast, what's gonna happen, man. Wake up, we're gonna keep shaking every time you watch it until you wake up. You gotta shake until you wake up. We're gonna talk about something tonight, man. Like I said, you're gonna always learn something. And this is dealing with maritime law, admiralty law. You must understand, when you go to court, you are speaking a total different language than them. All right? You're speaking English, and they are speaking what they call legalese. Most people, like I always say in America, don't have a clue of how things run in America, okay? Most people probably never heard of the term legalese. So, Papa, though, you talking about, bro, we'll be real. So, we speak English, and the judges and everybody, they speak what they call legalese. The words that, the definition that we use or think the words are, they are totally different, and we're going to go over that tonight. You know what I'm saying? So, listen, man, it's going to blow your mind. This is going to blow your mind. When you walk in the court, first of all, you're representing what we call your straw man. That is not your physical. It's not it's not physically you, but they call it straw man because it's the business entity of you. You gotta understand, everything based on business. We talk about this all the time. Business is your father, religion is your mother. That's just what it is. But when you're speaking about straw man, that's the business entity of you, which is all your names are in caps. Okay? If all your names is in caps, go look at any letter you get, any kind of letter, all your name in caps, because that's the business entity of you.
Okay, so to reiterate what he's saying, welcome in, checking you, boo. Hey, Jaga. I stumble on that every time. Welcome in, peace and blessings to everybody. Philly 2K24, thank y'all for being here. Miss Diane Osborne, peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. So what he's saying is, okay, so as I was saying at the beginning, when you're born, when your birth certificate is applied for and they go to register you with the birth certificate, you are considered personal, right? Your being, your human essence is considered to be personal property, right? That's what a birth certificate is. It's registration of you existing and becoming personal property of the government, right? And when you are dealing with the business entity side of the government, you are considered, they are your legal representative, and you are considered a business entity at that point. You are not considered, there's a separation there. That's why they call it the straw man as opposed to human, right? And so it separates the two. When you receive letters, bills, official papers through the courts, the government, anything that is business oriented, you usually, if you haven't noticed or if you're unaware, the letters that you get or the documentation that you receive through the mail from that business entity, there are all caps. They don't use like the first letter of your name as being a capitalization, and then everything else after that is a lowercase. Everything is in caps. That's how you know there is that is an official business document. Another indication too is when they use your surname, like Mr., Miss, Mrs., Ms., those types of things. So if you get a piece of mail and you see those things, that means that it is of a business capacity.
Step in the courtroom. The first thing they say is, raise your hand. If you such and such, such and such, and you say yes, that means you just took the responsibility of your straw man. Now we're gonna get into the legalese, right?
So Pablo, so you tell people like, so when you got mail coming in, or they anything with all capital name, your whole name.
That's the business entity of you. Now, if your first name, first letter capital, the rest lowercase, that's the personal entity of you. See, this is a lot of stuff people don't know.
Oh, man.
A lot of people don't know that.
They thinking that the whole time you say your name or you get some mail, that's you.
That ain't, man. Wow. And that's why I always say never educate the people you want to dominate. You know what I'm saying? You never educate those people. And like I say, even
he says something that is simplified but very profound. He said, never educate the people that you want to dominate. You keep people in the dark, right? You keep information from them. You don't disclose things that would put them in a position to be able to either circumvent you, or whatever your desired outcome being, the government or the powers that be, whatnot, whatever, however it applies. And you don't give them information to be able to go up against you and to be able to avoid whatever the desired outcome of that entity is. And so that's powerful because that's been used for centuries. That is not something that's new. That's not something that's recently discovered or revealed. That is something that has been successfully implemented for as long. And if you think about back to the slavery, like when they considered them in writing as chattel, they implemented that then because you were punishable by death if one slave was caught educating another slave. He's actually going to iterate that, but I kind of it fit the part for the course. So I wanted to kind of slide that in to this commentary. So here we go.
Back in the day, they had a thing called the anti-literacy law. This is where slaves, if they got caught teaching, if slaves got caught teaching other slaves how to read and write, they was punishable by death. If slave owners got caught doing that, they was punishable by fines. So literally, people was dumbfounded and just thrown out there in the world and was promised 40 acres and a mule, but they never got an acre and a dog.
Ooh, that's a lot to digest, not to unpack, but digest, right? So he's saying, and that's like a double-edged sword. So if you were caught being educated, and then in turn, because you had to be educated in order to educate someone else that was uneducated, from slave to slave, the punish was you were punishable by death. And the thing is that was to keep you from being informed. So again, you were not able and didn't have enough information or wherewithal to be able to circumvent whatever was being the desired outcome and the objective was of your slave master. And they still use that to this day. These kids in the schools they spend so much time. That's one of the reasons why I educate my son at home with the things that are tangible and that are relatable and that need to be, he's going to need to use and implement those strategies and that information in his real life in order to at least be able to compete, not even get ahead, but just to compete, because we're so far behind as a people that just to, we're constantly playing catch up, y'all. And it's just, it's sad. It's sad, but it's the reality that we're living in. And with the education system being as flawed But it's doing exactly what it was designed to do, and that was waste time by promoting the ideology that it serves a purpose and that it's supposed to prepare these kids for adulthood, real life. But they teach them nothing about economics. They teach them nothing about stocks. They teach them nothing about life insurance. They teach them nothing about bookkeeping. They teach them nothing about anything, the value of a dollar, the origin of things. Because if you know where things originate from, then it gives you the reason that it's still implemented or utilized to the level that it is. And I'm even though that can be applicable to a lot of other things, I am saying that specifically to money. And that's going to actually be expounded upon, because normally I don't go through, and I'm not saying I'm going through the entire live stream, but he's dropping gems from the front to the beginning. So I still encourage you to go in the description and click on Papa Duck's link and watch it from front to finish, because I've watched it more than once. And again, like I said, because I have to be in a position to be able to break down and expound with my son when I have him watch it, right? Because these things are not being taught in his school. But if he went strictly off of the educational system that he's currently a part of, and my son he's a scholar, so I understand his capacity, and I would be amiss as a parent or as someone that is responsible ultimately for his teachings, if I did not give him the proper tools, resources, and strategies to be able, at least what I know, right? Or if I don't know, I can put those resources in front of him to educate him. And there's so much information. We're living in an informational age right now that there's really no excuses, y'all. There's really no excuses. It's all a matter of prioritizing what's important to us. And nothing is more important to me personally. I speak from my perspective a lot because it's the only one I'm really qualified to speak from, is into my family, is into my legacy, is into the generations to come, right? And so what's the point of me being able to live to a ripe older age, or an elderly, what they considered an elderly age, if my first student and if my teaching responsibility is not to my children first, right? So let's continue.
But like I say, legalese, man, these are terms that maybe, okay, let's break down the first term. All right, we're talking about words of art. You know what I'm saying? You may think the word citizen means citizen, or the average person don't know what the hell the word citizen means. You know what I'm saying? Basically, when you're a citizen, or you call yourself a citizen, right? You are able to be protected and enjoy the privileges of being in America, but you must be under their constitution, the government constitution, meaning they own you, basically. And you can enjoy these privileges. That's why driving is a privilege. And anything that's a privilege can be taken. You basically sign yourself up to become an employee of the United States of America. Now, you may thought citizen just means someone that resides here or stays here. Hell no. These are terms that are put in place to confuse you. This is the whole purpose of legalese.
He just said it. When you go into a court system, even if it's just like for a driving infraction that you want, and I had this experience myself some years back. I got a ticket and I felt I was wrongfully given that ticket, to the point where I had so much conviction. I was like, I'm going to fight this. I don't care what is going on. So of course, I just thought when I went in there and gave my chain of events that they would weigh my testimony against the police officer, if that police officer even showed up, against his testimony, and then make a decision. Let me tell you something, that is not how it went. When I got up in there, that judge was so rude to me, he wouldn't even let me speak. He said, how do you plead? And if you plead not guilty, he said, then we're going to have a trial, and then you're going to have to get legal representation. I said, for a ticketed driving infraction that I feel that I was undeservingly given? He said, yep. And he said, and if you plead guilty, this will be your bond. And I had never had a ticket. I had never been to court to fight a ticket. I didn't have any citations on my record, even though after a while, I think they come off or something like that. They weigh less. I'm not really sure how it works nowadays, but back then, and he said, and then at that point, my bond was going to be, in order for me to go home, I would have to pay $250 if I wanted to fight it, and then plead no contest or guilty. That's what it was. It was no, even with no contest, I had to plead post a bond in order for me to leave that courtroom. I was dumbfounded. And then the language that was used, I was like, OMG, what is really going on? But Papa Doug made his explanation. It makes total sense. Legalese is to intentionally confuse you. That's what it's designed to do. Just like the education system is designed to not prepare these children for the real stuff in life, because it would lessen the bottom line, which is always following the power and the money for the powers that be. And if everybody is educated, then why would they be needed, right? Why would the workforce be in demand for, or how would that demand be filled with potential employees as opposed to entrepreneurs or business owners? Because if you're educated with the right information, then you don't need the corporations or the big businesses. You just need whatever you were equipped with in order to start your own. And so even though the power would be even more evenly distributed and the world would, in my opinion, be a much better place, unfortunately, that's not the world we're living in, right? So let's continue.
That's why when you step in court, you don't know nothing. Your heart be pounding. You don't know what the hell these people saying. And this is why the judge sit high and look low.
Just think about that visual for a second. I saw a video not too long ago, and I'm sure because it went viral in Vegas, where that man jumped over. It was a brother that jumped over the judge's podium and stand in order to get to that judge. But he was like, everybody was like, well, not everybody, but a lot of people were commenting on his ability to actually jump that high and that far across in order to reach her, because that's exactly literally how it is. The judge sits high and looks low. If you ever walk into a courtroom, even with the stands where the attorneys and the defendant and the plaintiff are situated, everybody is lower than the judge. The platform that the judge sits on is higher than everybody else's, right? So listen, it gets deep. The rabbit hole straight goes deep if you're really paying attention, or if you want to know these things, if you're open to learn something different than a lot of us have been taught coming up. But I'm telling you, the longer I live, the more I shake my head, because the title of the live is The Deception, and the time that we have is little, right? And that's by design. But I digress. Let's continue.
Purpose for a reason. You playing the game that they don't even give you the rules of the game, let alone let you win. So if you look up legalese, these are terms that are used by lawyers and in courtrooms that is basically designed to confuse the hell out of you. You don't know what's going on. You can't read a contract because you don't know what it is. This is what they call words or spells. We already been talking about this for a long time. But you got to understand, this America is a verbal or verbiage ran country. You get what I'm saying? And that verbiage is what puts a lot of people in a lot of situations. You know what I mean? Just off the verbiage, because you don't understand what the hell they're saying. And this is by design. When you speak about legalese, when you speak about the word resident, okay,
because he's getting ready to pivot, right? So when I remember when I was in court, I asked the judge, because he got to talking all this mumbo jumbo that I did not understand at the same situation I was telling you about earlier. And I asked him to clarify. And all he did was play wordplay with me. He didn't change his dialect, his vocabulary. He didn't interchange the English language to make it more understandable from my end. All he did, he was so good at what he did that he just changed the words around and reiterated the same thing and yielded the same amount of confusion. And what it did is that I'm one of those people, I'll be like, I'll ask you until I understand. okay, so is this what you mean, or is it? And they limit you. So the less you say entitles them to say more of what they're taught and trained to say. And so he would cut me off and then try to make you look stupid or make you look inadequate or uneducated. And I was not uneducated, even though I was uneducated in the legalese language. Now that I understand that there's a distinction and there's a difference, right? And so the judge did not like me. I'm telling you, because what was supposed to be a 30-second plead, I was like, look, this is a $225 ticket, which was a lot back then. And I really felt that I was unjustly ticketed, right? And that I had a great argument. And he just did not like the fact that I challenged him and questioned him. And then on top of that, I asked him to break it down for me exactly, in layman's terms, if you will, since you think I'm so stupid, then break it down to where you think I'll understand it. And that was not going to happen no matter what. So I did leave the courtroom feeling defeated, and I felt unfairly treated. But they don't care, because with the people that come through, the amount of people that come through those courts per day, they're looking at the bottom lines. They're looking at the outcome financially. They don't care nothing about what you got going on. They don't care nothing about, they're not interested in anything that you have to say. They're not concerned about any of that, right? And so, but it does a number. So I just think of it this way too. I went for a traffic ticket. Imagine the people that are going for more serious crimes like burglary or assault or domestic violence. We're talking about crimes or potential crimes that yield long periods of time being served, or huge fines in conjunction with serving some time. And then you got all of this probation and all of these different terms of probation, incarceration, that have to be served, to where you are living under their constraints, and whatever they say, you can't challenge any of that. All of that, y'all, is by design. So let me just take a second here, because I haven't been looking at the chat. We have, hey, Big Trick Energy. You say for traffic violations, ask a jury trial, 9 out of 10, it will be dropped. It will cost the city more money for the juries than the ticket amount. Yes, and I didn't know that, but I will say, if there is truth in that, and I'm not saying it's not, because I don't know, and I'm taking your word for it. How many people go into a courtroom, just like Papa Duck said, your heart gets to pounding. You start having anxiety, which is what I'm saying, right? You start thinking of the worst possible scenario. Fear, for most, starts to kick in, right? And so a lot of people don't even want to come back to that courtroom, much less come back for a trial, because you have all of these fear tactics that circulate, and one of those fear tactics is, if you come back for a trial, chances are you're going to lose, and now instead of paying a fine, you're probably going to have to do time if you lose. And then subconsciously we're thinking, okay, well, the court system is rigged anyway, so I'm probably more than likely going to lose because of the way that the system is set up. So let me just go ahead. And how many people, innocent people, have taken plea bargains just to avoid a trial? They have besmirched their records. They have tainted their own records in order not to have to come back and see this judge again, or deal with multiple people in the jury that they've never seen before. They have no idea how their minds work, what their intentions are, and you're putting your destiny, your near destiny, in their hands based on how they come out. So I granted, I'm just saying, like, this is where my mind goes to. And especially when you start dealing with more serious crimes that involve more potential time in, not just jail, but maybe in a state prison, being taken away from your family. And knowing that to an extent, whether you are willing to admit it out loud or not, that this system is designed to do that. The prisons are designed to be filled. They're not designed to be empty, right? That's a new form of slavery, or the new expression of slavery. So Cutting Edge, thank you for being here. Thank you. Peace and blessings. Timo TV, yes, salute to you. Thank you. Miss Your Thoughts says, this is why they say ignorance of the law is no excuse. Say it again, sister. Ooh, absolutely. Because they don't care. They don't care, and they want to eliminate any possibility of you being able to substantiate your position. And God forbid if you ever make a judge look bad. How many times have you seen that happen, right? And when it does happen, you're punished for that. Even though they make it look like you're being punished for the alleged crime that you committed, a lot of times if you make the legal system look like it has loopholes, or that it does not substantiate their system and keep it intact, and you done poked holes through it, now you're a target. So you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. T. Smith, yes, you're dipping in and out. Thank you for being here. You're always in the bushes, and your support is totally appreciated. All right, y'all. So let's continue.
Domicile means you're there permanently. Residence means you're there for a short period of time.
What?
That's what a residence is. That's what I'm telling you.
What?
So when you, and I got to give a shout out to my brother, man, Dan Calloway. That's my dog. Y'all will see us on something real soon. He definitely did an extensive video about the same thing. Okay? Domicile means you there, and you there permanently. Residence means you there for a short period of time. That's not your permanent resident. When you rent, use a residence.
Come on now. He ain't doing nothing but bringing the truth to light. How many times do you go somewhere in of official capacity or business capacity, and they ask you for your address, or you fill out a form and then it says residence, right? I've never filled out or completed a form to put my address and it said domicile, which is what you own. And that's because, in my opinion, this government doesn't want you to own anything, right? I think it was one of the Rockefellers that said you will own nothing and you will be happy about it. Okay. So they're telling you flat out that they want to own everything. They want servitude. They want the power. They want the financial benefits that yield more power, right? But you don't stake any claim to anything.
You see how they go? You're renting. You don't own it. So you're a resident. People don't know that. And these are, like I say, if we talk about words now, words will mess you up simply because you're not knowledgeable on these words. You're going to get taken advantage of. You feel me? You do not understand what they're talking about. You can't read contrast. You don't know what these terms mean. Thereof, therefore, of, the universe, blah, blah, blah. Bro, it's there to confuse you. You must understand, dog. Like, these ain't just words, bro. You got to understand what the hell they mean. Now we're going to move to another word. We're going to talk about the word hell. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, hell.
Hell.
Nah, pop it up. That's a word that everybody can be coming on real quick. Hell. That's a word. Hey, but you know what? Feedback. Hey,
if you come in with that word hell, what you think it is?
Yeah.
Okay, so he getting ready, because I got schooled on this too, right? Especially when, from a religious and a biblical standpoint, it is usually, hell is usually emphasized as, we know what it's emphasized as. I don't have to go into details about that, but the way he's going to break it down. But speaking of words of being spells and words having power, and the system actually implementing itself to do exactly that, and that's to keep you confused, to keep you uneducated, and to keep you in the dark. Because again, if you want to dominate, you can't educate, right? So yeah, let's get into this hell thing, because this was interesting to me. Let's proceed.
I'm saying,
yeah,
we'll throw it on the bottom of the
hell
screen.
Hell a big word though.
Yeah, but what's the definition of hell?
I don't think it's in the ground.
They think it's in the ground.
I don't think it's in the ground though. I'm telling you the truth.
Hell, if you go look at the word hell, it is, right? In the Black's Law Dictionary, the word hell basically means, right, the exchequer right? Most people don't know what the hell an exchequer is. The exchequer, the hell is where the exchequer placed people that the king, that was debtors of the king, meaning you owe the king, right? The exchequers are the people that, to this day, we got exchequers. You know what I'm saying? Those are the people that maintain the treasury. They govern the government's money. It was basically, they were the ones that put the debtors of the king in a place and confined them. That's what they call hell. So if you owe the king money, right? You the debtors. They owe the king money. This is a place they put you when you owe money. That's jail.
I was just gonna say that, Papa. I swear, bro. I was just gonna say, man, if they doing that what about prison and jail? So you in hell?
That's jail. Jail is hell.
I was looking at you right now. Yeah. I was like, you know what? What is jail then?
Because listen, man,
you didn't say you owed them something now.
Jail is hell. It's been going on forever.
If you want to know where you're going, you got to know where you came from, right? And so words have origins. They have beginnings. They have original meanings. They have origins, which means from the beginning, right? I wasn't taught this in school. I wasn't even taught this at home because my parents didn't have this information. My parents didn't know how to distinguish between, or know the power of words to be able to distinguish the past from the present and how they correlate and they connect. Right? And so when you think of hell, I always had a problem because, like I said, the way that I was raised, I was taught that hell was underneath the ground in a forever pit with fire burning. And you're going to always be hot for eternity. And I was like, okay, we have a God, but how can God be a God of compassion if people that are imperfect by design make some poor decisions and it's up to another entity that they go to hell? And how is that judged, right? So that was never made clear. And I'm not going to go real deep. I'm just saying that it did not make a lot of sense to me as a child. I always questioned it, but I also lived in a time where you just didn't openly and outwardly question things like that, especially when you were of a particular belief system or a particular religion, right? Let's continue.
People, I don't know how long people think prisons and all this stuff, it's been going on. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I say we be planning for the weekend. These people been planning this for the last 400 centuries plus.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And like I say, if you don't know what these simple words, what we've been using our whole life mean, simple words, if you don't know what they mean, imagine all the other words you don't have a clue of what they mean.
That's true. That's true.
That's crazy. That's something for you to think about.
That's true. That's true.
You know what I'm saying? You must understand that. You know what I mean? And it's like, we'll talk about the word license, right?
Oh, license?
License.
Nah, license?
Listen, license ain't what you think it is, though. If you ask the average person what is a license, they really can't tell you. A license is when someone of authority grants you permission. You can't drive without a license. You can't hunt without a license.
True.
You can't fish without a license.
True.
You can't do nothing without a license.
True.
So someone of authority, right?
Yes.
Grants you permission.
Yes.
Remember we talked about if you're a citizen in America, you can enjoy being protected and you can enjoy the amenities, right? Or the privileges as long as you're under the government constitution.
As long as you are under the government's constitution. So in order to enjoy these privileges, of these licenses, of these permissions, you have to play by their rules, right? Pretty simple, pretty cut and dry. It's not explained to us like that, not until now, right? By people of like minds. But that's how the game has always been played. It has to be under their rules in order for you to enjoy any of the benefits of the privileges that they grant you, right?
So, and that's something to think about too. License, if they grant you permission, then that's true, because how come like mechanics and drywall AC, why is it always, you're a bad mechanic, you're a bad AC person? You need license for it. So they're not giving you license for your knowledge. They give you license
upon permission. And that's the trick, to make you think that if a person, we already know, there's plenty of people who have a license sitting on the wall who don't know what the hell they're doing. They just went through the proper channels to get the license in order for it to be taxed too now.
Yes.
You You know what I'm saying? In order for it to be taxed, but they make us feel like that's trust. They got the license on the wall. I was just going to say that. Man.
The license give a person
trust.
Who set them to trust in you.
Well, it's all BS. It's another way to keep up with, what you do. You know what I'm saying? It's all about data. Nothing changed under the sun. People think Google just came out of nowhere. No, Google is the yellow pages.
True.
It's all about tracking. It's all about the control. It's all about the data. They put it under the guise as if you have to fit a certain criteria in order to gain a specific niche's trust, right? Or a specific audience's trust. But it really isn't about that at all. They set these, most of the time, they're mediocre standards or they're biased standards, because if it's not fit within a stringent parameter of criteria, then guess what? You don't qualify. You're not going to get that certification or that license, right? In order to be permitted to educate others, not legally, but if you, again, there's that word register, there's that word registry. So if you put down your personal information and then you go through the data and the criteria in order to get that certificate or that license, now you're in a data system, you're in a registry where you can be tracked, you can be controlled to a large degree, and you can be monitored. Right? The rabbit hole and gatekeeping. Absolutely. Nothing new under the sun. Come on, checking you, boo. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's go.
True. That's all it is. And if you look at it, if you old enough and the yellow pages back in the days was in the front, there was the big dental offices, law firm that had the pictures in the front. That's SEO. Those are the ones popping up first. So you know what I'm saying?
And going to deeper pop on this one, bro. It's kind of weird how certain people can work under your license.
That's union to me.
You see, they can work under your license, but they actually do the work. So if they ain't good do the work, why can they obtain the same license? Because they go to proper channels to get permission.
It's all control.
Oh man, y'all hear this?
It's all control.
They control y'all with a word called license.
License. It's just like becoming a real estate. I think, don't quote me on this, but I know when you become, when you get a real estate license, to practice your own, you have to, even with a bail bondsman, you have to go under another bail bondsman. You know what I'm saying? Yep. And like I say, to me, that's just ways to keep the power in power. Like people look at all these phone companies, bro. It's only 2 phone companies, and every other phone company buy time from those 2 major phone companies. That's it. That's I'm trying to tell you.
What? Hey, y'all hear this? Hey, y'all,
listen, bro.
Hey, y'all know Papa Duck Podcast. Y'all know what to do with him.
Facts.
Y'all know what to do with him. So y'all get on, tell a friend, tell a coworker, tell them log on, man. Y'all know what to do with him. We on Shade to the Wake.
Man.
It's on 2 phone companies.
So he just dropped game right here, because you can apply that to all of the industries. So the first point he made, which I thought was really good, and it makes sense, right, is when they talked about you being under the you have a license under a license, basically. So like let's take real estate for example. You have a real estate brokerage, right? And under that brokerage is a real estate agent. And the agents have to be licensed, and they have to be licensed, and the brokerage has to be licensed. But I look at it from the vantage point, not just to be tracked or controlled or monitored, but also money. Because look at all the fees and the taxes that are involved. Because when you're in real estate, you're considered self-employed, whether it's an LLC, an S-Corp, or sole proprietor, however you file. The fact of the matter is that you are allocated your own taxes, right? Based off of the income and the revenue that you generate per year. So if you tax everybody, you charge licensing fees for everybody, their own set of licensing fees. Look at all of the different types of income and the different points of revenue that are being generated off of the same trade per each individual, right? So that went deep for me, because it makes sense. If it don't make sense, then it's usually not true, or there's usually some information that is either being omitted or misrepresented, in my opinion. And that's been through my experience. So when he talks about, he said the union. Now, I was a member of a union for a lot of years, and it reminded me a lot of having a smaller idealization of a constitution, right? So the unions have their own language, their own contracts, their own legalese, right? Their own language. So when you are under the protection of a union or the representation of a union, you have to abide by the laws of that union or the rules of that contract in order to be represented. You have to pay dues. Dues come out of every check. In most unions that I've ever seen, you have to pay to become and remain a member of that union, right? Come on with it. Ms. Jaga, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Yes, have a great night. Peace and blessings to you. Thank you for being here. And Ms. Yothot says everybody gets paid except for the consumer. But you think about it, that people of color are the biggest group of consumers in the world, and wonder why we're so disenfranchised. Because she's right. Everybody gets paid but the consumer. You have two groups of people. You have the maker and you have the buyer. Now say it. Let's continue.
It's only two phone companies. So everybody else buy time when it comes. So when people be like, oh, my phone work this, my phone work that. Bro, I've traveled enough. I beat these phones in the ground. When we travel, it's either one phone working and the other ain't, or vice versa, or none of them. There's only two phone companies.
True.
When you start traveling, that's when you really see what your phone can't do. But like I say, these are things that people don't know. And it's all about, like I say, never educate the people you want to dominate, ever. Even and we just talking right now. If you understand what they say, sign on the dotted line.
Yep, I was here. Sign on the dotted line, sir.
You know what I mean? If you look at a check with a magnifying glass, that ain't a line. Those are words.
What?
Now, this I did learn in my 20s. Right after I graduated college, I remember getting a bank account. And back then, it wasn't so refined. It wasn't so indistinguishable. If you looked at, even like if you have not binoculars, but bifocals, and you grabbed a check, you could literally see the break in the line. Because back then we used to, of course, a lot of younger people aren't going to understand this because everything is digital now. But back then we had paper checks. I still have paper checks with my business. Even though I do a lot of online transactions, I still like to have my binder with my business checks in there, because to me, there's nothing like it. But when you look with a magnifying glass, you still see that, right? It's harder to distinguish, like I said, than it used to be. But there is a method to the madness and a purpose of intent for everything that has to deal with money, because they need to be able to authenticate it and track it. And that, to me, that's the purpose behind it. Because anybody can write a check, a frauded check with a line on it, but it takes a special type of machinery, artistry, and capability to be able to make it look like a line, but upon closer examination, it says something totally different in a legalese language, right? Let's continue.
Hey,
those are words.
But now, I don't know about y'all. Like about check, I'm a magnifying glass in the words saying.
You can look it up. It says authorized signature. But like I say, they stand on the dotted line. John Hancock, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Dog, paperwork is more powerful than a pistol.
Yeah.
People got to understand that. These things are set up to the point. I'm going to give you an example. Wow, paperwork is more powerful than a gun. You got people that's in the grave right now that controlling your life through paperwork. You got people in the grave right now making more money than you alive, and they dead based off paperwork.
And it makes sense.
Paperwork is way more powerful than a gun.
That's true.
Because you got to look at it. Look who wrote the Constitution.
Yep.
These was rich people that wrote the Constitution for when they did. They know that when they did, they still have been able to obtain more than people that's living. So when you speak about light, which is God, and you speak about darkness, which is the devil, when you look at the stuff these people do, who the hell is the devil? The things that these people implement on us. Making us go to school, knowing we ain't learning nothing.
Yes.
You ain't learning not a damn thing in school, bro. Talking about the devil. These people sacrifice all our lives if they can to get what they want.
Like I said, it goes back. Yes. Go to school, you learn nothing. Why you go to school for 12 years to still have to go out to a license or something?
Because it's a bunch of BS. You know what I'm saying? It's a bunch of bullshit. Like at the end of the day, bro, like I tell people, man, you know, once you realize how things are going, like we're gonna get off into the relationship things too in a second. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted we kicked it off with, you know, like I said, I want you to learn something from the podcast. You know, I like to teach people things they never knew. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm telling you is this. What they say, not often I catch Papa Duck live. Hey man, appreciate that, Nicky J.
And also, make sure y'all hit that share button. The ones who missed the live, you all can catch on YouTube on Papa Duck.
And if you follow me on my channels, like you watch my daily volley, no, they took it from private to public. Yeah. It's so crazy now that not only blacks can be slaves, whites can be slaves, and everything in between.
Yes.
Okay, when you go to jail, you're on state property, which is slave. Slavery is just cheap labor. We don't give a damn who do it. We just need somebody to do it because you can have all the money in the world. Doesn't matter. You still need somebody to get out there, you know what I'm saying, and build these buildings and do this and do that. But the more technology becomes, and you know, the internet gives us a way to communicate, you know, with the world. People get smarter. But this is why they create AI. It's not gonna matter. They're gonna they listen, bro. The people, the Klaus Schwabs of the world and his whole little game. These are the people we need to be after.
What?
These are the people that sit and make decisions, right, without your approval, and it's gonna be shaping the world off what you will be doing and not be doing. Follow the money, like they say. Follow the money. Like I always say, Jeff Bezos ain't the smartest dude in the world, but he definitely connected with the right people that knows what's coming.
Period. He said something very profound here that I want to expound on too. And he was talking about the powers that be, right? And that's why they go into overdrive they spend every waking moment keeping us divided and fighting against each other. I just want to take a sidebar here for a second, because the reality of the situation is this is where we are in this sector. And I see a lot of infighting. I see a lot of internal battles being initiated and fought on a scale to where at the end of the day, none of this stuff is really going to matter, but they allow it because it keeps our minds and our eyes off of the things that actually affect our everyday lives and will affect generations that we birth and give life to. And if we are too busy fighting amongst each other, there are laws being passed that we don't find out about until after the fact, until they're already being written, right? And so in saying that, we take away precious time, energy, and resources away from things like teaching or learning about life insurance, about the stock market, about bank accounts and the regular savings accounts not yielding a high return, keeping money under your mattress. It loses value. It does not gain value because there is no yields and no dividends being gained, right? And so as long as we are in the dark, again, you don't educate those you want to dominate. And I'm going to keep reiterating that because that's the bottom line on the education system, on the penal system. They don't teach. It's not a rehabilitating system inside those walls. They can say whatever they want to, but anybody that has come out of there rehabilitated, they were their own best advocate. They were their own strongest advocate of being educated and made aware. And that was because they didn't have anything else to do but go to the library or seek out information, because they knew when they came out, most of them, if not all of them, are going to come out with a blemish and a stain on their name and their legacy, and their time out from that point on is going to be a struggle. So they're going to have to educate themselves. And so with that being said, we're going to continue.
You know, they show all these little videos of Jeff Bezos back in '94 in his little office, and who tipped him off and told him where the world was coming. Mm-hmm. They knew this shit, bro.
That's
you know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm thinking about. That's true. That's very true.
And you talking about your reality, bro. We talking about your reality, bro.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? And the crazy part, y'all gonna hear me say this, bro. Like, it's just crazy how the world is going, and a lot of people they don't get it, and they're not gonna get it. It's sad, but like I said, I look at them as like lost souls, man. It just don't click to them, and a lot of times, you know, the way the world is set up, man, energy is real. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
I did a whole video about energy, man. You have to understand these are basic laws that they kept from us. Karma, karmatic laws. As long as they tell you what's going on, they can escape the karma. They tell you that cigarettes will kill you, but they'll still sell it to you.
Yep.
They told you what's wrong. And like I say, basic laws, man, like, you know, energy laws. I tell people all the time, man, stay on a positive frequency. Because if you don't, you put yourself in a position to be affected by everything that's negative. Some people just have a negative sight on everything. Even in relationships, man. People, listen, dog, in relationships, you have people that'll study and they'll go for the negative more than they go for trying to make somebody happy. They trying to catch you doing something. They want to go through your phone. Everything that you say something, everything just responds to negativity, bro. Get from around them people, man.
Listen, I preach this day in and day out, and I have to remind myself of this a lot of the times as well, because none of us are perfect, right? And there are times where it's subtle, but by the time I realize it, it's like, okay, I need to change something because this is not benefiting me. My energy, my attitude is shifted. Being around a lot of negativity, reinforcing and feeding my brain and my spirit with negative energy, thinking that there are times where I'm strong enough to withstand it and to persevere through it because I want to help people, or I want to educate people, or I want to spread some of my positive energy. And then before I realize it, guess what? My energy has shifted. And now I have exhibited the same characteristics that I'm hoping other people change about themselves. And so a lot of times it is very subtle and it is very slick, but we have to really, really be aware and mindful and willing to take accountability for ourselves and our actions and our decisions in order to make those necessary tweaks and adjustments. I would much rather make a tweak and an adjustment than I would having to correct a bad decision, right? And so he makes a very valid point here. Discernment. Absolutely. That is one of my biggest words for 2024 and 2023 is discernment. And to me, that is the defining decision between picking a good or making a good decision or a bad one, right? And so whatever it is for you, got to take that into consideration, but you have to be willing to look at thyself in order to even recognize or be in touch with your level of discernment. For me, I realized it was a gift. It was more of a gift than it was anything else. But in order for me to even be in touch or recognize that that's what it was, and not just that, but listen to it, because your discernment could be screaming at you, but your flesh is telling you something totally different. And if you're flesh led, then that will be the decision that you lead or that you yield to, right? And so you have to be obedient to your discernment. It's one thing to have it, but it's something totally different to yield to it and to be obedient to it. So let's continue.
Because they put themselves in a position to be on the negative frequency. It's just like a radio. If they jamming on this station, but they not on this station, you ain't gonna hear the jams because you negative. You on the negative vibe. You on the negative vibration, bro. It's simple. It's simple. It's all about your perception.
That's why, like we always talk. You like certain conversations people you don't have no more.
No, man.
I mean, it's not to say lack of respect, but it's vibration. It's vibration. Like you can have on people.
That's a good indication that you moving on another vibration. The people you around, the conversation just don't make sense no more. I just actually wrote a song and did a song about that. Y'all gonna hear that? I just recorded it yesterday.
He's right. He's right. If you're surrounding yourself with people, or you've been around people, even like Miss Yo Thought said, even family members, and y'all can't agree on nothing, or you can't relate to anything that you used to be able to relate to, then you need to evaluate your level of vibration and yield to whatever the outcome, the desired outcome is, or whatever the spirit is telling you. And if you've outgrown somebody, it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It means that there is a necessity to switch your environment to accommodate whatever the purpose is for your life. But we have to, there's different components that are necessary in order to do that. We have to be willing to yield and to be obedient, right? And so without those components and probably some others that I may be missing in order, guess what? You're going to make different decisions, and none of that's going to mean anything. And now, again, you're going to have to undo it if you're able to, and unlearn and relearn and make different decisions. And now you don't waste a valuable time, all because you wasn't listening and you weren't willing to be obedient, right? Sound submission. Absolutely. That's right.
And I'm just talking about, like, you know what I'm saying? As you vibrate, people are gonna the conversations that you used to have with these people, it sounds silly. You're gonna start hanging around different type of people. You know, they're gonna go to saying, "Oh, you think you know everything." You're gonna hear all that. But all you're doing is vibrate, man, from one, like I say, like a radio. You're going from one channel to the next. That's all it is. You know what I'm saying? But like I say, man, these are comedic. These are not comedic, but these are ancient laws that they don't want to teach you. You know what I'm saying? But they got everything around us to make us stay negative.
Boom. Now, let me just say this too, right? And I'm sorry if I keep pausing it, but he's just dropping gem after gem after gem. And sometimes we have to pause and elaborate on that thing in order for it to sink in and set into the spirit and into our psyche, right? In order to be able to remember it, to implement it at some near point in our future. So it's necessary sometimes to elaborate on and separate each separating thought or talking point or context, right? And so when you are absolutely going through the phase of elevating your vibration and yielding to it and being obedient to it, you have to be willing to tell the truth about where you are, where you're going, which requires vision, which in turn requires self-reflection, right? And we have to be willing to do the work. And so I don't want to get too off topic. I get to shifting from time to time, but look, sometimes he says things and it's like, okay, I just got to pause there. I gotta make sure that we are digesting what he's saying, because everything is going in order and everything is prevalent and it's important and they're interconnected. So they're connected enough to, if you miss one step or you don't acknowledge it or give it the same amount of importance as the other step or the next step or the previous step, then guess what? You're going to miss the lesson or you're going to miss the assignment.
Yes. They paint the picture in your mind. I say this all the time, bro. Even when you...
And you say it right now, right? They paint the picture, right?
Yo.
Because right now, if y'all look it up, most of the females right now got red hair.
Yeah.
They all getting the red hair done. They paint that picture of it.
Yeah.
So, like, I know y'all see this too. All your friends got red hair right now. Everybody got red hair. I know y'all see that.
Where they get it from? Sexy red.
I'm just saying. I'm seeing it right now. Like, you know,
Sexy red.
And like you said, like, some people be talking about, oh, it was just where we're supposed to go, but they seen it already. Man. Like, they don't know half of what's going on. They just seen that. They don't run that way.
No, and you know what? They don't control what's going on.
No.
This is why I tell people, bro, when you speak of the way people are, black people, white people, Chinese people, these are like effects of someone else governing your environment. The person that owns the environment controls the decision making. If you walk through a field, say that you used to smoke weed, you don't smoke no more, but you're walking through a field of weed every day. Eventually, one day you may smoke it.
Yeah.
It's a good chance you may smoke it. This is the environment we're in.
That's why they control everything. That's why we own nothing and we're going to be happy about it. Because if they give us any type of ownership or dominion over anything, it's over. It's over. All we need is a small percentage. What they have worked centuries to accumulate in the masses and in abundance. Look at what people of color have been able to endure and rebound on and prosper off of very little and very small amounts. They know this. And what really irritates my spirit, and I'm going to be as transparent to say that if I think of it on a daily basis, that's when I'm telling you, it's on a daily basis, is the fact that they go so far in to keep our history away from us. Because and Miss Yo always says this, she says, if you know your history and you know where you've come from, then you know where you're going. You know how to deal with what's coming. And so when they disconnect a people from their origin and from their beginnings and from their legacy and from their heritage and from their DNA and from their culture and from their ideologies, they've disconnected Black people in this country from every truth possible, which is one of the reasons, in my opinion, now that I'm older, that they really go in on separating even just the immediate family. When you're dealing with the man and the woman and the child or the children, they're taking the head out of the home, and they've been doing it by luring the attraction to being taken care of by the government under the guise that the government has your best interests at heart. They've been telling this lie for so long, and it's been effective until now. People are waking up, and I'm not saying everybody. You got a lot of people that are straight comfortable where they are, but the fact of the matter is that there are a lot of people that are saying, no, we're looking at the greater good, right? Yes, I have checking you, boo, and I would advise everybody that has not read the William Lynch letter to please do so. I remember I've read it a few times, and the first time that I read it, I was nauseous. It made me literally sick. I couldn't eat for almost 2 days. Psychologically, it played tricks in my head because I started replaying tapes of my upbringing, of my history, because I was an adult when I read this letter for the first time. And so my childhood was gone. And I really, it messed me up, because it was probably my introduction to how sinister and how evil people had the potential to be. I didn't know people could be that mean and evil. I mean, I've heard of the devil and Satan and evil spirits and demons and all of that, but that took it to a whole nother level for me. Because you have to study a people. Not only do you have to study a culture, but then they mimicked and took points from the culture and then reprogrammed the people that they took it from and lied to them to make them believe that they were not who they said that who they were told that they were through lineage, and really dismantled the psyche of the people by attacking the family. And they've been doing this since before the slavery times. But when you talk about it being documented to the masses and being accessible, that information really became apparent during slavery time. They have never allowed for a family to live cohesively, because that's where they prosper. That's where their strength lies, and many other benefits. So yes, absolutely. No, I was physically sick for 2 days. That was just, I couldn't believe that people were that evil, but it was also necessary because I opened my eyes and I allowed my eyes to be open and not move through this world blind and ignorant to what was really going on, right? So let's continue.
Yes. When you see women all day popping their ass, it ain't the fact that they popping their ass, it's the fact that they are showing us this on social media.
Yes.
The behind the scenes of taking a group of people and just hitting them with negativity. Yes. I told you there's 2 types of TikTok. Even the owner of TikTok don't let his child get on TikTok. The owner of TikTok don't let his child get on TikTok. Now listen, in China there's a different type of TikTok. Them kids only can be on there, I think, like 45 minutes, maybe an hour a day. That's it. And the things that they feed them on their timeline ain't no shaking their ass, ain't no titties, ain't none of that. Us, they plant this in our minds, bro. If you look at the last 5, 6, 7 years, bro,
Yeah.
You can't follow not one woman, and I'm not saying all, but majority of women, you cannot follow one woman that will not take a picture showing her figure. Showing her backside, showing her titties and stuff. So my thing is this: once you get the teeth done, the booty done, the this and that done, it's like, what's next? Now what? Like, you basically training me how to approach you. You training me to say this is your value, right? And like 50 said, if looks is your only, if looks is the only thing you got going for you, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna do some whole shit. That's the only thing you got going for you. It's just simple.
Speaking of TikTok, now this is what I'm going to say about this. I don't know about anybody else, but I've been hearing what he just said about TikTok for the past, at least before the pandemic. So I started getting bits and pieces of information when TikTok really became popping in this country, right? Now they say it's the strongest form of interaction out of all the platforms. So it surpassed Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Google. It's more powerful than Google, right? At least that's what the data says. I haven't confirmed or denied either one. I'm just going off of what I've heard, right? But I've been hearing that China, so the very thing that he said was that China never displayed or had the same criteria or put the same type of entertainment or information out through TikTok. They have a lot more different guidelines than this country does. And it's also always been circulated that it is a Chinese-based app, and China has never, at least we've been told, that China is not our ally, right? Now, their ownership in this country speaks differently to me. But just for the sake of argument, we were told that China is a big threat to us and that they are not our allies, right? But they use it as a spying mechanism. So here we are, at least 5 or 6 years later. This is common knowledge at this point. So look at the migrant situation, right? And how they're using TikTok in order for the illegal migrants to come in from China. And they're using the app to circumvent border control, to come in on entry points that are not supervised. And they're entering this country illegally using the TikTok platform. i.e., one of the reasons, to me, aside from security threat, that they are now putting on the table discussions of banning TikTok in this country. But I don't buy it, because this information has been circulating for years. This is not new information. This has been public information, and it's gone viral for a long time, right? So why now is my question. But I have a lot of questions. So Ms. Yo Thought says that yet everything here comes from China. Make it make sense. Listen, when I found out of the land now, so I have done research and reading and have learned that China pretty much runs Jamaica, which explains a lot of the discourse and the civil unrest that's going on in Jamaica, because they don't have the power to run their own country at this point. At least that's my opinion. And when you say, Ms. Yo Thoughts, we used to be a production country. We used to produce, maybe not all of our goods, but when you say that we get everything from China, you ain't never lied. Almost everything in my home, if you flip it upside down and look at the label, it will say made in China. So make it make sense, like you said. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But in regards to TikTok, I ain't buying it. That's why I'm not really even, I was going to do a live on banning TikTok and the news circulating and the information surrounding all of the chit chatter about banning TikTok in this country, but I don't buy any of it. So if I don't believe in it, I'm not going to speak on it. And that's where I'm at with it. So let's continue.
So you train You train men to see you in a certain light.
Yes.
Which train us to see y'all in a certain light.
Yes.
Right? This is one of the main reasons why a lot of this rabbit hole goes way deep. You know, I talk about all kinds of stuff from back in the day, the man in the house rule, how that shit stemmed from then to now. Yeah. I talk about that. I talk about how they link the music up, right? They make Beyonce do a song about independent women, and they run that across all channels. Yes. As far as from music to the Tyler Perry movies, yes, to the this to the that, and it paints the perception of Black women can be successful, but they can't hold down a man.
Yes.
And another thing is we always saluting broken relationships. Yes. What about the people, like, no disrespect, but we finna shift the narrative, and this is why I love having our own podcast, because we can control the narrative, not in no, in a taking advantage way, but this is what I'm finna say. I'm all for women being independent. Yes. I'm all for that.
100%.
But my thing is this: we always parading and saluting independent women, but we never salute the women that have made it with the guy, with the baby daddy. They still together, been together 5, 10, 15 years, raising their child in one.
I'm gonna drop the link. Miss Yo, if you have a moment, can you come up? Because this is where I think you would add valuable information. If not, it's fine. It's fine. No pressure. I just think that you can add perspective to this because he's right. Now, I remember back in the 80s, right, where Bill Cosby, there were so many shows that were family oriented. God forgive me. I can't think of any more than that, but there were several. What is the Rock? George Jefferson. There were so many, right? And they promoted family, and they gave a display of the family unit, and they gave a realistic vantage point. None of their families, not George Jefferson. We had JJ, and come on, y'all, help me out. Family Matters, absolutely. Yes, that was one of my favorites, was Family Matters. The one with JJ, where he did the art, oh my gosh. And they had Penny, Janet Jackson was in there. That was one of my favorites too, because to me, it gave one of the first really most realistic as well as an urban truth. When one of my favorite episodes was when the white Jesus was on the wall, right? And it became a whole family issue. And it was pushback as to why do we have a white Jesus on the wall when Jesus was not good times? Thank you, Kimara. Yes. And so it was just like, okay, so with all of those shows that came in, and there's many that I have not mentioned, right? Now we got Sexy Red, no disrespect, Cardi B, you got Meg Thee Stallion. What kind of okay, so just without ever seeing her, listening to her name, her stage name. So we've fallen so far from grace, or what could be perceived as grace, to, like he said, promoting the ideology that independent women or single mothers or single parent homes have power, or that they promote success, the ideology of success. So now the narrative has so shifted so badly and so far imbalanced into the left that our men are disrespected to a maximum, to the point where a lot of them don't respect each other. That's why I love to see men that come together. I would rather men come together, and I'm just going to keep it a buck, right or wrong, indifferent. I would rather see men be able to come together and gel with the same like minds to promote progress than women. Women are too fickle, but men, that's where the power lies. That's where the true power lies. And the powers that be know that. That's why their first and primary goal, and they have invested so much time, energy, money, and resources to removing that man from the household and out of the children's presence. Because if you have the balance in the household, then the children will come out prospering with a balanced mindset, with the masculine and feminine energy to be able to navigate and maneuver through this crazy world with a more effective energy, right? So With that being said, I could go down that rabbit hole, but let's continue. I'm not going to go through the whole thing because we'll be here for 3 hours. Please, if you haven't subscribed to Papa Duck, please go do so. You'll be doing yourself a favor. You and your family members, if you have children, this man is dropping, and it's his life's work. He mentors children. He is one of my son's biggest influences, whether he recognizes it now or not. But I do. Me and his dad, we recognize it. And so with that being said, I'm telling you, he's like a encyclopedia full of education. He's got a memory and a zeal to teach and educate his people, unlike a lot that I've seen. People, they talk the talk, but fail to walk the walk. He's not one of those people for me. I've been following Papa Duck for a long time.
We won't even talk about them.
No.
But we ain't gonna say we salute independent women, which is cool. But what about the ones who made it? Who really weathered the storm?
Yes.
What about that guy who been with his wife 10, 15, 20 years plus? There's not a show on TV that got a group of successful relationships that will talk about their ups and downs with those who trying to get on their level. Yes. There's more of hoish things going on TV because, again, you don't control the narrative. You know what I'm saying? You don't control the narrative.
No, you don't control that. And
that's what I'm saying.
And like you say, like, women, it's like they think that they see it, and when they go through it, or they stop it, and they talk to you about it because we see it together. So I'm independent, so you walk away, I'm independent, but they don't understand behind that closed door, there's a lot going on behind that closed door at home. Yeah. But when they're friends, independence steps out because the bills get paid.
It's a different thing, man. A lot of women are on what I call survival.
I was just survival mode.
Yeah,
survival mode. That survival mode is serious.
I'm gonna say this, because I could side with some of y'all. I can really say, like, I understand a lot of women may be afraid to put it all on the line with a dude. Yeah. Y'all come get together, get a house together, do all this together, and then all. But the thing is, when it comes to a man and a woman, just a black family period, we've been under attack for years, bro. Yes. We've been under attack, and we under attack in ways a lot of people don't understand. That's why I tell y'all this is what we call, or what they call, silent weapons for quiet wars, bro. You think the music that they putting out is uplifting you?
No.
Hell no. You think they putting Sexy Red out there just for your entertainment? Bro, ain't no other civilization or no other group of people, whether it's Jewish people, whoever, where black people can control the way they women act.
No.
We don't have the power to do it.
No.
We don't have nothing, and they're not going to lend us their TV stations. They're not going to lend us none of their magazines, publications, or none of their influencers to paint that narrative.
Because it doesn't suit the bottom line, right? It keeps the family divided. There's no other group of people that does it because they understand, like Checking You Boo says, the order of things. There is a proper order of things. And the reason why we are so behind is because we are out of order. We got this feminism movement going on where women think that they don't need men. And I'm talking generalization, right? Where women don't need men. They think that they can raise boys to be men without the fathers being present. Women tend to be all in their feelings. And like he said, I want to expound a second on the survival mode, because that actually gave me insight and perspective on why women are so distrusting. Again, I'm generalizing, right? Because there are a lot of very successful unions and marriages. We got Kimar in the chat, and these are just people that I know of for sure. Miss Yo in the chat, that have been married for long periods of time, that have raised children collectively, that's their business partner, their best friend, their confidant, their companion. So there are a lot of but that's not the narrative that's being pushed out here. You got housewives of every damn state in the country, right? I don't watch none of that garbage. And I'm calling it garbage because there are no men in the household. And if the men are special guests on these shows, they're being disrespected. They're being talked down to. They're being talked to badly. They're being, their role is being disregarded as being menial and them being superior. And it's just, to me, it's a very destructive cycle and a very destructive weapon of the media to keep the family dismantled, to keep it divided, and to keep the women in survival mode. There is, because it's out of order, women are working as well as trying to rear children. There's not enough hours in the day to do both successfully. I'm sorry, something is going to fall short and by the wayside somewhere, period, point blank. And a lot of times, oftentimes than not, the children suffer. It is what it is. It is what it is. This movement of feminism, in my opinion, fair use YouTube, has been so destructive to the point where now we have a generation of children that are so confused to the point, with the government's involvement and their interference, that a lot of them don't even know when they're biologically born male or female. They don't live in that with conviction. They don't declare it unapologetically. They don't seek out the characteristics or the natural tendencies that go along with how they were born and who they were born as. And that's because we've opened up the door for other influences to raise our children outside of mom and dad in the household, right? So it's such a multi-layered conversation that there's no way. I did want to take the time. I know some people don't have the attention span. If you don't, that's fine. But I felt compelled to go through this thoroughly, because this information, we can sit for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours and watch bullshit and beef. But when it comes to something that directly affects our internal household, our children, our nieces and nephews, our grandchildren, our children's best friends, our children's cousins, we just don't have it. We don't find it pertinent or important enough. And I beg to differ on that. If I can't spend as much time, at the very least, as I do watching the beef, by proclaiming and putting out there information that may or may not impact your family on a beneficial level, then I got work to do. But this live, I feel so convicted, and I feel so certain that there is certain information, even if you don't catch everything, that at least I know you're going to catch something, right? So if you're coming in during the middle of the stream, please go back from the beginning. You can speed up the video to 1.25 or 1.50. You still should be able to understand the speed of the language. But I'm telling you, you're going to be benefiting if, at the very least, your mindset, because if your mindset is right and you're being educated and you're learning valuable information, then it is up to you to be able to transfer that down or abroad amongst people that you value, love, and respect. You can share this stream. You don't even have to reiterate it. Just share it with somebody, because I bet you, I know, listening to Papa Duck, even though I've been following him for a while, I learned a lot during this live stream, and I'm not too ashamed to say it. At least I learned it while I'm amongst the land of the living and the breathing, and I'm grateful for that, because as long as I have a voice and I have any kind of a reach, I'm going to be good with that. I'm going to be good with one person, 3 people, 5 people, whatever it requires. Again, if I can sit and I can watch the bullshit and the beef, then I can learn something that's going to positively impact my family, my friends, my loved ones, people I value, and strangers alike in kind. And so with that being said, hey, Miss Yo, what's going on with you? Hey, thank you for coming up. I appreciate you. Yeah, I can hear you.
I can't hear.
You can't hear me? Can you hear me? I'm going to kick you from the studio and then come back up again. Hold on, y'all. Give me a second. Sometimes technology is not the best, you know? It's not perfect. Okay, I think I dropped the link again, Miss Yo. So hit it one more time and let's try it one more time. Mel W. Hey, Mel. Thank you for coming. Yes, yes. So you say you'll notice the more we embrace certain ideals about sex, the more suicide and mental health crisis in the United States. Look at the child they are propping up who took her life. I'm not aware of what you're specifically speaking on, Mel. So definitely, if you feel compelled, and if you're in a position to do so, definitely hit the link if you want to and expound on it. But you know what? It's not a huge surprise. You're absolutely right. Let me tell you something. The best thing that I feel we can give our children is outside of love, and to me, an expression of love is equipping them with the necessary information, tools, and wherewithal to be able to navigate this world, because it is progressing at an accelerated rate. The days are shorter, the nights are shorter, the window for making good decisions and bad is smaller. And I remember being able to make mistakes back in the day, and I was able to correct those before karma kicked in, or not. And then when karma did kick in, I would be like, ooh, I would question, is this because of this, or is this because of this time that I did this or that? Now, all of that's been abbreviated, for lack of a better word, right? And so our children don't have that luxury. They just don't at this point. And the more things change, the more they stay the same, right? So there's so much ignorance and miseducation, especially in the age of information, that is not being properly or truthfully distributed. And it is our responsibility as parents to make sure that we seek out, to the best of our abilities, the truth. And not just that, but we have to pass that on, because we're not going to be here forever, right? And that's not the intention. So I think Miss Yo might be having some technical difficulties. Take your time, Miss Yo. So we do have Mel W here. Hey, Mel.
Hey, salute to you, sister. How are you?
All is well. Salute to you. Thank you for being here.
Okay, I hope you don't hear an echo.
No, I don't.
Okay, yeah, I'm northbound and up. I'm making a long trip, so I'm gonna catch every last one of you guys, content creators.
You in the Matrix? You cut out. Okay. So while Mel is probably going through a spot, Miss Yo has resurfaced and is ready to be added. Hey, sis.
Hey.
Can you hear us now?
Let's see if I can hear.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, but hold on. Let me see.
All right, I can hear you now, Mr. Keeney. I can hear you with your thoughts.
Okay, I don't think she can hear us.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I missed what you were saying because I couldn't hear you.
Um,
Okay.
I don't really. Okay, so pardon me, but I didn't forgot that quick. I was welcoming you, and I was saying that Miss Yo was having technical difficulties. Oh, I was saying while
I
you were
can't hear you guys, so let me see what's happened. Maybe y'all on mute from YouTube. Hang on one second.
Yes,
Let's
ma'am.
see.
okay.
I don't know why I can't hear you. Oh, I see. I got it. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
Yes,
You
we
hear
can
us?
hear
Okay,
you.
I'm gonna take the link again. Okay.
Let me. I know she's gonna be mad at me, but she's not gonna be able to. She say hit the link. That means I gotta kick her out for her to come back. So you said the last thing I heard you say before we cut out was that you were on a long drive, and so you were able to hear all of the content creators.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to that drive.
Okay, here
Or this
she is.
drive.
All right, let's try this one more time. Can you hear us? She can't. I don't think she can hear us.
Oh, let's see.
Hey, Mr. Kimmy, I just looked
Hey,
at
y'all,
myself
can y'all
on the
hear me?
camera.
Yes. Can you hear us? No. Okay, so I muted her. Go ahead, Mel.
I said I just looked at myself on the camera. You know, I forgot one thing that I need to do before I go leave the road. I just realized I need to get a haircut. Now I got to go find some raggedy barber up north. So that's gonna be fun.
You are fine. Look, nobody even acknowledged that until you said something.
Oh yeah, I know. The thumbnail lady, if she in here, she got something to say.
Okay, so I'm hearing feedback. Does anybody have? Okay, I think that might be Miss Yo. Miss Yo, there's feedback, honey. Okay, go ahead, Mel. We listening.
Oh, well, I was going to say, so there's a story going out right now. There was a child who was, and obviously for the profession that I do, and the fact that people try to dox so much on here, based on for people who they like and don't like, I have to really kind of be careful how I talk about this. So I think you guys understand that. So there's a young child who apparently I think was bullied. And as the result of that bullying, that child took their own life. And that is tragedy as much as and that's tragic. But the child was transgender. And so the focus on this child taking their life is not about why are we not, what's wrong with us as parents in teaching our children to love themselves so much that no matter what someone says about them, that they can persevere. But it's more so, it's because of people who don't support that community is the reason why this poor child took their life. So you can look it up in the news. I think they do a hashtag called Say Their Name, which ironically all the black folks got mad when that crazy lady, Marjorie Green Douglas, or Marjorie Green, whatever her name is, had a shirt that said "Say Her Name," and she talking about Lincoln Riley. But I guess it's okay for this population to use "Say Their Name." So that's what I was talking about with that incident or with that issue when I mentioned about a child taking their life. So you didn't see that on the news, Mr. Kimmy?
No, I don't. You know what? That's the thing is I don't really watch the news. For the most part, to be totally honest with you, because of it's always negativity being displayed, and it really affects my mindset, right? And so, and I'm not really active on like IG and Facebook and all of that. YouTube has been my primary source. Kind of in reading. So yeah, I have not heard of that, but I'm definitely gonna inquire about that. Do you have my IG?
No, I don't do it. I don't do Instagram. I don't do.
Oh, you don't? Okay. All right.
I only had a Twitter for sports-related purposes, and I actually am about to deactivate that. Yeah, I don't. The social media platform, YouTube is a new anomaly to me, so I'm just kind of entertaining that. But I did want to say this though, because a lot of people don't know. Right now, we are in a mental health crisis with our kids, and our suicide rates among our high school age kids, and even our kids in elementary school, it's skyrocketing because we have taken away the value of a strong nuclear family, and a lot of kids are being raised on television. If you look it up, Ms. Kennedy, there was a 9-year-old black girl who took her own life because she got bullied in school. And I got a son that's 9 years old. So to think that 9-year-old children to this day believe that suicide is even an option, that's a scary thing. And I attributed it to everything that our kids are now being exposed to, that we're trying to call right or normal or okay. And that goes beyond sexuality. That goes into all of these other different demons that have infected our schools and have infected even our churches. So yeah, just wanted to make you guys aware. Yeah, there is a mental health crisis with our children.
Well, unfortunately, that's not surprising. I kind of anticipated that with COVID. And I noticed that overall the children's disposition, especially, kind of being in tune with my son, and being connected with his school, his schoolmates, his sports mates, talking to their parents or whatnot. Can you go on mute until you're ready to speak, Mr. Mel? Thank you, babe. Appreciate you. So, no, there definitely is a disconnect. No, you're good. There's a disconnect when it comes to a lot of different things. This world is a bit much for seasoned parents, or for parents, or for adults that have lived some life, that have something to compare it to. Imagine being a child and you don't have anything to compare the current state of this world to, toward being optimistic or positive, because there's very little that's being generated amongst this generation, this upcoming generation, that is positive. It's sad. It's discouraging. And let me tell you something. I encourage, whether you're a grandparent, a parent, an aunt, an uncle, a mentor, a big godparent, a big sister, a big brother, please take a child up under your wing. Make it a safe place for at least one child that you know and have relationship with, and that their parents trust your relationship with that child to be able to come to you for a safe place, for a non-judgmental place. Transparency. I offer my child, he has a therapist that he utilizes and I let him come to me. And I'm so thankful that he comes to me and he says, Mom, I would like to set an appointment to see my therapist so I can talk about some things. I don't flinch. I don't blink. I don't do any of that. And every time he goes to a session and I pick him up, he is in a better state. He is in better spirits. So we have to also normalize and make therapy okay. We have to say that it doesn't speak of you as a broken person just because you want somebody that you trust to be able to speak with and talk to. We have to really, really shift and change our mindset when it comes to, because I know I was raised in a family where telling personal business to a stranger, you were punished for that. And we can't do that because that did not work generationally, especially with all of the SAs and the sick family members that, did unacceptable things with minor children in the family and all of that. We have to change things that have not worked and that don't work. Right. And so with that, I'm gonna go on mute.
Yeah, no problem. I'm sorry if I have some feedback off of the road. Usually I have my headset, but I actually dropped it and lost it and broke it. So it is what it is. Now, I just wanted to say, and you're exactly right, because as far as like, that sworn to secrecy in the family, because we have family members to this day who have, who are still around that have harmed family members that we know harmed family members, and we said nothing, and we didn't, and we changed up nothing about our perception. I know family members like that, and I'm not saying you have to outcast them, but at the same time, we've taught in the Black community that speaking, seeing something, and saying something is just not okay. And I hope that parents and grandparents will encourage their kids to say something if they see something or feel something or hear something or know about something. But going back to the suicide issues that we're facing with our children in the schools, I would dare say it actually predated COVID, because the uptick really started around 2014 and 2015. A lot of schools actually started requiring mental health trainings when you started seeing the uptick in I don't know if you remember that school shoot that happened down in Florida, where that coward kid killed 17 people. Why he ended up getting life in prison, I have no idea. I'm a pro capital punishment person. But nonetheless, because of that, a lot of schools required mental health trainings for kids, and you saw an uptick in suicides because of that. So our kids are just pay attention to what your kids are watching. If they're watching YouTube, they're going to sneak something up in there. If they're playing Minecraft, there probably could be another adult playing a game with them that you don't even realize. A lot of these mental health crises happen in chat rooms for games now. So just pay attention to because I know we were watching a show one day with our sons, and my wife said she thought the show was okay. Then she went into the other room, and she came back. There were two women kissing, and it was a rated G show on Disney. And so you have to really pay attention to what your kids been exposed to, because that can trigger those kids from the idea of not feeling accepted or feeling loved to make them want to take their own lives. And a conversation never hurts with your child, because we always ask, what are they doing? But how many times do we ask, how are they doing? So I'm going to go on mute after that.
No, you dropped some gems on that. And thank you for giving us the perspective from an educator's, people that actually deal with children on a day-to-day basis, from diverse backgrounds, from different households. It takes a special type of person in order to deal with other people's children on a day-to-day basis. You have to have a passion for that. And on behalf of many other parents that are invested in their child's education, upbringing, and well-being, I just want to say thank you as well on that. And thank you for bringing awareness, because let me tell you something. My heart goes out to people that have lost children. I can't even begin to imagine, especially when you're dealing. It was funny because I was watching Regina King. Robin, that interviewer, Robin, I can't remember her last name, but she's been in the game a long time. She's a great journalist and interviewer. And
Robin Roberts.
Yes. And she interviewed Regina King. And just yesterday, I saw that interview. And, she asked any question about her child is a tough question, because Regina King is still going through the grieving process. And according to her, she may always go through it. It may never end. Right. But it was so powerful, and as close as it could give perspective to someone that did not lose their child in such a horrific way or manner. It just shows you how powerless and how much lack of control you actually have. You invest and you pour into these children, and at the end of the day, you still don't have control as to the end, the ultimate outcome of how their lives turn out. or otherwise. So I know I kind of went out, but it's easy. I just try to put myself as much as I can possibly do, even though I haven't experienced that. I have empathy, and my heart goes out to those that have lost their children to suicide or just in general. It doesn't matter how you do it. The fact that they're not here anymore, replaying those tapes in your head as to how that child, transitioned, and that, all of the memories of you bearing that child, carrying that child as a mom, as a father, being involved in that child's life, providing for that child. I just, I really don't know how to process that and explain it.
Well, let me add something. Let me add something to what you just said, because that's an important conversation and one that hits personal for me. I have seen enough kids who have lost their lives who were students of mine that I am sick to my stomach. I actually, and I don't mention names, and I'll probably share the link with you in the back if I get to a stop somewhere and you're still on one. I'm actually going through that right now with seeing a parent who I work with and who I absolutely admire and love and adore and respect face that reality because their child was tragically taken from them. And the hardest part about that, the way the child was taken, was I'm teaching his brother in my class right now. And I have to be very guarded about what I share. In the subject in the curriculum I teach, I have to show sometimes like death and things. So it's hard for me to share those things. And yesterday I did I created a traffic stop protocol program, and I had a bunch of students in there, and I was talking with the kids about it. And I may share that also. It was a great event. But this kid asked me if he could go to that event, and I was like, I don't know. And I was kind of waffling around it because it really covered what happened to this family dynamic. And I hope I'm not being long-winded on this.
No, you're fine.
Okay. But so this kid shows up at this assembly, and the way I wanted to do it, I had to change that in my mind because my heart breaks for that kid.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we hear you. Can you hear us? Okay. But my heart breaks over that kid losing his brother, let alone the father who I see every single day. And so I'm going to land this plane by saying this. I'm a NASCAR fan. So I bought a book. It was called Swerve or Die. It was written by a race car driver whose son was killed while he was driving a race car. And he mentioned that one of the race car drivers who died, Dale Earnhardt, would see this dad every day at the racetrack, and Dale Earnhardt would purposely go out of his way to avoid this father after his son was killed. Because Dale Earnhardt also had a son who was racing as well. And I found myself avoiding this dad because I didn't know how to look at him and in my heart say, I'm glad it wasn't my child, but I don't know how to. That's hard because that messes up the order. When a child dies before their parent. I was so fortunate that my mother did not outlive any of her sons, because that would have broke her heart. And I can only hope that I don't outlive any of my kids. So you brought up a good point, and I'm sorry if I went long-winded on that, but that's something I'm still grasping with right now as we speak, because that tragedy is just that grave to that family. It's all going to be.
Well, thank you for sharing that. No, I think any experience or any information and knowledge that you have, because you're dealing with our children on a day-to-day basis, right, is valuable. So absolutely not. Thank you so much for actually, I always welcome you. I don't care what you have to share. It's always valuable for me. So you probably asking somebody that's biased. Miss Yo, can you hear us? Poor thing, she's having all kind of technical difficulties. She got feedback.
Hear you.
You can hear us now?
Look. I can hear you on my phone, but I can't hear you on the. I can hear you on the phone, but I can't hear you on my computer.
Can you join us on StreamYard on the phone if I remove you from the computer? You don't have to cam up if you don't want to.
Yeah, I'll do that from the phone.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll do it from the phone.
Okay. All right. Okay. So yes, no, definitely. I'm trying to tell you, this is it's a lot. You know, it's multi-layered. So I'm gonna do a part 2 to this because there's so much more information that I had planned on sharing, but you know, I felt like kind of stopping it as frequently as I did to kind of expound, because for some it may be new information. And I know it's a lot to digest, and that's okay. I know for me, there are times where I have to take breaks on things that I'm not aware of, especially when you have to unlearn and relearn, and you have to process information that you probably, you know, were not privy to, or that you were told something different. And now you have to just reprogram your thinking altogether when it comes to things. And so once you've been lied to, and then you realize how big of a magnitude you've been lied to, now you got trust issues. Now you're questioning everything. Now you're trying to figure out what's going on with you know, the sources of information and where everybody's coming from in the first place. So it's a lot. It's a lot to process. It's a lot to digest. It's a lot to articulate. And therefore, you know, I definitely feel like there's a part 2 coming to this, because there's still more information, I think, that is going to be super valuable for those that are willing to listen and have the eyes open to see. And with that, hey, Miss Yo, can you hear?
Yes, I can hear
I
you.
know. This is a process. It's so good.
I'm not sure what happened. I mean, I usually, you know, I just went on in. Normally, I could just pick the link and go on in. For some reason, the thing kept loading and loading. I'm like, what in the world? Then I restarted it. Oh, anyway, I'm here. And I think that's what the whole question was.
No, you're good. So I had stopped it to on a part of the video where he was talking about the family and how there's so much on the media that promotes single women, feminism, and it doesn't put emphasis on the family unit, the core. It doesn't, like we used to have all those shows back. Me and you've been living long enough to where we have actually experienced a comparison, right?
Yeah.
Where we had stuff like Good Times, the Jeffersons, the Cosby Show, where they actually Mel, your device is not connected, sweetie. So I'm gonna actually take you from the studio and try to come back. Okay, I'll drop the link again. But and I wanted you, I wanted your presence because you have had a successful marriage for over 40 years.
Oh yeah.
And you can actually provide such a tangible and powerful experience of your life's journey and things that you may want to add that you feel is of value that will help people get, just kind of shift the mindset from this survival mode. Because what I think Papa Duck said is so profound and so true, where he's saying like, because I even though me and my son's father co-parent very well, we still don't live in the same household, and that proposes its own sets of challenges, right? And so in a lot of aspects, I'm still a single parent, even though he participates, even though he's involved, even though we get along very well. I've known him for a lot of years, way before my son was born, but it's still, I relate to him, and it kind of like was a bell that went off when he said being in survival mode, because it totally shifts everything when you are just trying to survive as opposed to thrive and live, right?
Yeah, it does. But you know something though, Lisa Kimmy? Even with the mother and father separated out of the household, and the two persons, the man and the female, are still trying to raise a child, it's still a sense of survival mode, even if they're living inside of the house.
Okay.
For the woman and maybe for the male. because although the man is present, he's busy making the money and stuff like that, right? To take care of the family. And then you have the person, I think I hear some noise in the background, Miss Okina.
That's me typing, I'm sorry. Okay. Yes.
No, it just sounds like rattling, that's okay. But yeah, even though that he's doing all of that, the woman feel more secure knowing that he's still going to come home at some point, which will be able to release and tell him what went on during the day with the children and all that. That's the only difference. They have like close proximity to speak with them, right? Okay, but yeah, it's really shameful how they're making it seem as though Black love doesn't exist, and there are marriages that last forever, and they're in lengthy relationships, because it's a whole lot of them. They just choose not to shine the spotlight on it. That's the whole problem. So we have to really teach our children that relationships and partnerships do work. You know, you just have to work together and make sure you are in it with the same goals and the ideas, right? That is the main thing our Black family, I think, have a problem with, is settling down to say or to know what they want. That's why so much confusion in relationships. Everybody wants something different. They're not together on what they want in a relationship. And that's the only way it's going to work, if everybody knows what is the end goal in this relationship. That's how you last in a relationship. Period. That's it.
That's it.
That's it. you know,
it. In a nutshell.
Mel, like a job. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. It's still showing your device is not connected. I don't know what's going on. Oh my goodness. I don't want to kick you out again. So if you want to disconnect and try one more time, but if you can't come back up, that's fine. Maybe restarting your device. I don't know if it's StreamYard, because Miss Yo usually doesn't have, she doesn't usually have issues, and she really had a struggle today. So that very well could be the culprit. So if you can't, it's really okay. I'm reading the chat. So just try it one more time. I'm just going to remove you one more time, and if it doesn't work this time, then we can type in the chat for now. That's fine. Okay, Miss Yo, I apologize. I just didn't want him to stay back there and think I wasn't pulling him up.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. But yeah, that's basically what I wanted to say when it comes to relationships. And yeah, we need to make sure. I was hearing you and Mel speak about the children and stuff like that. And another thing that we should do with our children is we should give them a time to speak.
Yes,
they just need a time to speak, and we need not just interrupt. We need to be there to sincerely listen and hear what they're saying to us. Because I mean, when you have that communication, they'll feel free in coming to you and telling you all kinds of stuff that you wouldn't have told your parents. You know what I mean?
You ain't never lied.
They're more open to you than you think, So just trust that they want to just voice their little opinions and stuff like that. And to them, small problems are big problems. So you have to handle them as such.
Yes.
When they come to you, you can't just brush it off. So I think that we need to pay more attention to our children and hear what they have to say. Those are the corners.
You said something very key. We have to pay attention. Without paying attention, they're not going to feel comfortable with coming to us with anything.
Right.
Without us being attentive and invested, they're not going to think that we value anything that they have to say, or that we're going to be objective and open with an open mind, heart, and spirit to receive, even though there is a variance in the generation and the age. Because I remember being a kid and I really thought my parents didn't understand me and that they weren't going to be able to relate to what I was going through, because I thought they were old. Even when they were in their 30s, I was like, you still old. Okay. Yeah. Ooh, little did I know. Right. So we have to be approachable. We have to be open. And Ms. Yo said it. We have to shut our mouths, open our ears, our hearts, our spirits, and we have to be genuinely attentive and listen, because we have to be able to hear past their words and tap in.
Yeah, we have to also make sure that we are expressionless when we're speaking with them. If they're telling you something that maybe it'd be like something that you would cringe at, you cannot show them that you're doing that or you feel that way because they'll shut right on down on you. So you have to really be really calm and, engaged in what they're saying to you. And another thing I want to say, most parents will say, I know my child. I just know my child. I know this about my child. I know that about my child. Mm-hmm. No, because they change just like you change. Some of us don't even know our children's favorite color.
That part.
We assume that it's pink if it's a girl. We assume it's blue if it's a boy. But I'm talking about even when they're grown, colors change. They change their mind like you do. They explore new colors and things of that nature. So if you have a child, for example, that's maybe 30 years old, male or female, ask them what their favorite color is and see if it's this color that you think it is. See, it's just little simple stuff like that. See, so, you just have to listen and pay attention to it, pretty much. Yeah. But
and we can't underrate that. Yeah. We can't act as if that's a small thing, because it's not. To these kids, that's humongous.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Right?
That's right.
Something so simple, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So
I just want to say I do like that guy, Papa Duck. He do be speaking a whole lot of stuff that I was taught. So he is really informed about a lot of things, And I think it's a good thing that you ran across him and is playing some of his stuff, because we just when you know when you know
Right. That's right. But we have to he always ends his videos. I don't know about recently because he just started this second phase of his podcast, but he always says before, let me get it right. Before something, I ain't gonna repeat it because I ain't got it all the way. He says something verbatim and it's so powerful, but he's talking about before you are awake, you have to realize you sleep.
Yeah, right. Okay, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, so you have to first of all, you have to reckon within yourself that to me, coming to the realization and the depth of all of the deception and lies that I had been told from a child was overwhelming, and it was a shock.
Oh yeah.
In a lot of regards, right? And sometimes people don't get past the shock.
Right.
Right, to be able to make that internal reckoning within themselves to say, okay, now I'm open and now I trust enough to trust somebody else to give me what they perceive as the truth, for me to do my own due diligence, for me to do my own research, for me to do my own internal digging, for me to reach out to family members, my elders in the family, if you're blessed to still have elders in the family, ask the pertinent questions, ask the relevant questions about your DNA, your history, your legacy, because if you are of childbearing age and you produce children and you expand your lineage yourself, there is a responsibility to pass that on, because if not, it's going to die with you. And what was the point in living if you can't share that with you? So hold on one second. I just want to welcome in, hey, Dimple D, thank you for being here. I see Vince is in the chat. Thank you for coming in, Mr. Vince. I appreciate you. Miss Joy, peace and blessings. And anybody that I might have missed, thank y'all for being here. So we listen, if you haven't, you can always go do the replay, and I take a page out of Barbie Girl Tina's book where you can speed up the stream on the replay to 1.5. As fast as 1.5, you're still gonna be able to hear what's being said, but there are gems being dropped, some information you may know, but I guarantee you there's gonna be some stuff in this stream that you did not know. I don't care who you are, okay? Because I learned a lot. So and am still learning, a work in progress. So with that being said, I didn't mean to cut you short, Miss Yo. I just kind of wanted to acknowledge the new people in the chat.
Yeah, not at all. I just want to say this and I'm going to pop off. What I want to say to everybody is don't be afraid to listen and hear someone say something to you that makes you feel uncomfortable when it comes to knowing. Just don't be afraid. Like Mr. Kimi said, do your research. And as long as it's well with your soul, then you know it is that it is, right?
Yes.
And the last thing I want to say is everything that you know in this life, everything you got up here, Somebody told it to you.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, even your name.
Period.
So until you can learn or know something for yourself, you don't know nothing.
Facts.
Okay? That's what I want to leave y'all with. So I'm getting ready to go and be with the family and all, and I'm going to holler at y'all later, okay?
Thank you,
everybody.
Joe.
I want everybody, look, live in peace and walk in peace. And then you'll have a peaceful life. Peace, everybody. I'll talk to y'all later.
All right, sis. Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all. Okay. Thank you. Bye. So yes, I was so engulfed in the conversation. I do this to get the information out. I just put my banner up because I just realized 2 hours in it wasn't up. Okay, so thank you to my moderators that have posted my Cash App in if you want to be a blessing, that's fine. If not, no expectations. I'm not like everybody else. I don't do this to yield a financial outcome. If I get it, it's a blessing, right? So that's where I'm at with it. But I think I'm gonna do a part 2 to this, y'all, because frankly, to be honest with you, it's worth it. There's still more information that I think deserves some specific commentary or expounded commentary. And I appreciate everybody's time. I know that 2 hours is a long time. Hopefully most of y'all have been in motion. Shout out to Miss Yo Thoughts. I took that from Miss Yo Thoughts, right? Emotion and because most of us have real lives outside of this app, and I value your time and just appreciate your presence and during the stream. Hopefully it was worthwhile. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you were able to gain some edification, get some confirmation in some areas. And you're able to, comfortably share some of this information with loved ones and those that have benefited at any point during the stream from the stream and information that has been provided. Shout out to Papa Duck. There was another video. I'm going to do that in part 2. It's only an 8-minute video, but I'm telling you, when I say it ain't nothing but punch after punch, power after PowerPoint being brought to the table, we're going to be stopping. It's going to probably take me an hour to go through that 8-minute video, at least 45 minutes, because it's dropped with nothing but gems in it. So with that being said, I just want to say thank you to everybody that's been here. To those that popped in the middle, please go watch the replay at your earliest convenience. You can always, I encourage you to comment under the video once it's over, at your leisure, of course, and, pop in any kind of commentary, any type of personal experience, any suggestions. I'm open to suggestions. This is still new to me. I don't have it all together. I'm a work in progress, but I'm doing my best every time. And I think I'm getting the hang of everything each time I do a stream. It gets a little bit easier for me. So with that being said, I'm not going to make this a long outro. I appreciate everybody, and I hope you have a great evening, and I will see everybody somewhere in another chat, somewhere along the line, right? So hold on just a moment before I go. Shout out Papa Duck. Thanks again for mentioning him, Mr. Kimmy. I subscribed during your live. Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Checking Boo, for your commentary, your participation, and you've been dropping gems I've been seeing you. You've been dropping gems in the chat. So thank you for all of that. Thank you so much. Miss Sassy says, I enjoyed this live, very informative. Amen. Thank you for being here. I always enjoy seeing your face in the chat. Dimple D says, I learn on a daily from every chat, but thanks once again, Mr. Kimmy, for always staying true to your audience. Gotta love it. Amen. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you, Vince. Hey, prayers up. I received them with an open heart and a pure spirit. Amen to that, right? Enjoy your weekend. I echo that sentiment. Ms. Joy says, salute to the chat, blessings and favor. Mel W says, thank you for always being so welcoming. And you're always welcome. Always, always. Your commentary, your input, and the value that you offer to anybody's chat that you pop into or their panels is always welcome, at least here. Definitely here, right? And so with that being said, y'all, peace and blessings. I appreciate everybody. And Kimmy is out.